So welcome back. I'm so glad you guys came back to talk to me about part 2 of our series on affordable housing in Charlotte. The last time we dug into my Charlotte MLS and actually gave you a behind the scenes look at how many houses are available. Now, one thing we did not do is we didn't look at existing homes. We only looked at brand new construction because we wanted to bring you the best possible homes that were out there and show you that there are benefits and times where you can buy a house. You know, this comment that I got was so disheartening to me. It just broke my heart. It said some people can't buy a home and aren't in a position to do that. And that has sat with me for months and months. And I'm like, we've got to do something about affordable housing and how can we get people into home ownership? So I have a fantastic guest and I promised you I would get her, and I have got her here today. So I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to Dana Walter at Gateway Mortgage. She is amazing. Now, Dana, you've got to do it for us. You've got to give us the famous line.
Oh my gosh, who knew it was going to be so popular, right? Hi, I'm Dana.
There you go. Hi, I'm Dana. I love it. Everybody loves that on our videos.
Oh my gosh,
and they're
that's so
everywhere.
funny.
It's so hilarious. But
That's so
thank you
funny.
for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You are one of the top, 20 agents as far as now North Carolina housing down payment assistance in the state. Well, I said agents, but you're a loan officer. Talk to me a little bit about what does that mean?
Really good question. So just to give you kind of like the 10,000-foot view of the North Carolina Housing Down Payment Assistance Program, which I am blessed that I get to help so many people with this, because it really is, it gives everybody a leg up for, you know, that big step into home ownership. So basically there's 3 different programs that you can utilize. The most popular program is going to be our $15,000 for your down payment and closing costs. I know it went from $8,000 to $15,000.
$15,000.
I know, towards down payment and closing costs. So it's basically, and if you're a veteran, you can use it for other things as well. So we can get into all kinds of fun stuff with if you're a veteran. So, you know, a couple of the criteria for the down payment assistance program, and again, this criteria is true for all of them, but, you know, we need a 640 credit score, and you need to not have owned a home in the last 3 continuous years. So that's basically it. That sets you up as a first-time home buyer. And then there's another program, there's actually 2 more. There's another program that if you have previously owned, you can get up to 3% towards your down payment and closing costs.
Wow, that's a good amount.
Yep. And it's awesome, but that's if you have owned within the past 3 years. So let's say you go and find something and you've saved up enough and you've got, you know, you proceeds from the sale of your home, but it just isn't quite cutting the mustard for you know, paying all the closing costs, and the sellers aren't willing to pay them for you. You can absolutely utilize this program to help offset those costs. So it's a great tool to use. And then the other one that is specifically for first-time home buyers that have never owned before, it's called our mortgage credit certificate. So basically what that means is you get $2,000 a year back, dollar for dollar, on your taxes for as long as you own the home. So if you own the home for 15 years, you're getting $30,000.
What?
It's crazy. It's amazing.
Just back on my tax return, right? Like
dollar for dollar.
Credit towards my tax return. That's awesome.
Putting cash back in your pocket. Now, the $15,000 and the mortgage credit certificate, those 2 cannot be combined. It's one or the other. But it can be combined with the mortgage credit certificate, can be combined with the 3% down. So yeah, so it's, you know, every situation is going to be a little bit different. Let's say you've got mom and dad, they're like, hey, I've been saving for you a little bit for a few years. Here's $5,000 to help you get started in your new home. You know, then maybe it makes sense to use the 3% and the mortgage credit certificate. You know, so there's just different ways to look at every single situation.
So depending on what the client needs and where they're at, like credit wise and like with their income, is there income requirements there?
That's an excellent question. Yes, there are income requirements, and it's based on county. So it depends on what county that you're purchasing in.
Okay.
Yeah. The highest that they'll go up to is, I believe, $123,000. So we
It's
get
like
into
annual salary, right? Like
an annual salary.
That's the highest. Wow.
The highest. And
that's pretty high.
It's nice. So a couple of different things about the income. So with the $15,000, we are going to look at household income. Okay. So let's say you have a husband and a wife. The wife maybe works part-time. We are going to be counting that income in with the overall, what we can look at from a income perspective.
Okay.
With 3% down, it applies only to the borrower.
So only the person that's on the loan.
Only the person that's on the loan.
So what if the husband and wife or married couple are both on the loan?
They're both on the loan. We're using both.
You're using both. Okay. So, well, that's really great, because I know in the real estate world, I see situations where we'll look at like one person's credit and another person's credit. Well, I won't, but you will. And you'll say, look, we have a better shot at going this route with only this person. But in North Carolina, 1 to buy, 2 to sell. So yeah, put the mortgage in their name, go for it. Hello. And then you still have ownership rights.
Correct.
Like
so, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I would put my own children in these programs. As a matter of fact, I've tried to encourage my children to utilize them. Of course, they have their own things, weddings and things going on. So buying a house right now is on the back burner. But, these are programs that I absolutely believe in. I have been so fortunate to be able to help people, achieve home ownership utilizing these programs. And they just recently increased the capped amount that you can buy with a home. I believe it's $417. I will need to double check myself on that. It was $385 for the longest time. So they have increased the sales price.
That's pretty good as the market has increased. I mean, that's a beautiful home. You could buy, I know several homes that, would meet that criteria that are going to be beautiful, including new construction. So that's considerable. So let me ask you a question about if I don't know anything about buying a house, right? I don't know anything about it, because I feel like the reason people think they can't buy it is because they just don't understand the entire availability to them.
Correct.
If that makes sense. Like they don't understand what could happen to see if they could fit there. So they automatically count themselves out. And I don't want that to happen. So if I don't know anything about buying a house, what are a couple of like you said, 10,000 foot view items that I should know just to know that these are basic qualifications?
Excellent question. A couple of different things. I hear a lot from first-time homebuyers that are coming in and talking to me, and they say things like, I thought I had to put 20% down. My mom and dad said I have to put 20% down. And that's just not true. Right. So with first-time homebuyers, the very minimum that you can do down is 3%. Now, having said that, if you are a veteran, or if you purchase a home in a USDA qualified area, so that is a little bit of a different animal. Those are 100% financing. You don't need a down payment if you purchase a home in a USDA qualified area or you are a veteran. So those are, that no money.
Huge. That's huge.
It's huge. It's huge.
I think people are afraid they just don't have the money to buy a house, and they don't realize how much you need. Now, we're not going to share any information, of course, but you and I are currently getting ready to close a client who is actually receiving a little bit of money back.
Correct.
That's amazing to me. She did come out of pocket for a little bit of money, but through the process of purchasing, as far as inspecting homes and things like that. But now she's going to go to the closing table and take home a little bit. I think that's incredible. And I don't think people realize that opportunity is potentially possible depending on the situation.
Correct. So the program allows, let's say, in our client's case, she worked with the builder, they required a certain percentage of money down, which she had to provide up front. And when it came down to the closing, she had already satisfied everything that we needed because we combine it with the down payment assistance. So therefore she's getting part of that deposit that she put down back.
That's just incredible to me.
I know.
That's amazing. And we were able to work it out with the builder. So it was a lower amount needed on our side of things, which is what makes this a great partnership, is that, we can say, where do we need to be and do our best to negotiate through that. So, there are options. That is so amazing.
Yeah, I get chills every time I think about her.
Yeah.
She's just so special.
She is. She really is. And for us to just be a part of that, we're just grateful to watch it happen.
And, without getting too in the weeds or anything, I think it's important to talk a little bit about her story because it might be applicable to people that are watching this video.
Absolutely.
She came to me a couple of years ago and said that she was ready to take the next step. She was expecting a baby, and we looked at everything and she just wasn't quite there. So we kind of coached her through what she needed to do to get her scores where they needed to be. And that girl
did everything.
She did everything. And a year later she went under contract. It's just, I get chills. She just followed everything.
It's amazing, her story. And the other day I shared with you that we were doing her final walkthrough, because closing is actually today, which is amazing. But
I'm going to cry. I'm absolutely crying.
I know. I know. We're standing in the kitchen, and this daughter she was pregnant with, she is now holding and dancing with her, saying, "This is our new home." And I'm like getting choked up thinking about it. It really is special to see someone who felt like maybe they couldn't get there or had to do some work to get there.
She committed. She committed to doing it. And, she did 3.5% down. So for the first time home buyer, with using even if you don't use down payment assistance, if you're a veteran or you buy a home in a USDA qualified area, you don't need a down payment. If you are going, purchasing a home and using an FHA loan, you need 3.5% down. If you're purchasing a home using a conventional loan, the very minimum down is 3%. So you don't have to have 20% down. And one of the great things about the down payment assistance through North Carolina Housing is they will give you, based on income. Now we have to follow some guidelines with income, but reduced mortgage insurance as well. So you're not necessarily looking at, your parents are telling you got to put 20% down, don't pay mortgage insurance. Well, sometimes mortgage insurance is under $100 a month. And that makes a lot more sense than rent. Right. So, it's just a function of, every person we try to look at, we don't try, we do look at every person as an individual, asking them what their goals are. From a payment perspective. So I work with folks, maybe they can afford $1 million home, but they don't want to pay for $1 million home. So we talk about, where are you comfortable with your payments? And kind of work backwards from there. And, and then sometimes we have to coach them on what's realistic. And
we see rent amounts come in, and I hear what some people are paying in rent, and it's just a huge price gouge. And then you have a payment for a home, and it's much, much lower. So when in the previous video, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I shared that homes under 300,000. So and I wasn't sure, and you probably can't tell me because I know it's going to depend on taxes and where it's at and what the interest rate is at that time. But I wasn't sure what that payment would be around, but in your opinion, let's keep it broad here, if a home is priced 300,000 or less, is that less than what you normally see people paying in rent?
It's very comparable with what I'm seeing people pay rent. My children, for example, they're $1,500-$1,700 a month in rent. For that rental payment, you could be in a home. Even if it's a few dollars more, there are just tax benefits that you're not necessarily seeing. Additionally, you're starting to build your own wealth. And I think that is, that's the biggest thing that's lost. And here's something else, April, that, I try to keep a very close eye and finger on my pulse of what's actually happening in the industry. And right now we are seeing values of homes at all-time highs. And the speculation is that they're not going to go down. It's not going to go backwards. Everybody's concerned about, it's 2008. This is not this is very, very different. I was around in 2008. I lived through that. This is not that. This is, there are more people than there are houses, especially in our market, in the Charlotte and North Carolina region. So, now is the time. And then we hear people talk about, well, the interest rates are so high right now. Granted, they aren't as low as they were 2 years ago. And hopefully we never see that again, because that means
hopefully not.
I mean, I hate to break it, that's not a good sign for our economy ultimately. But, that right now is the perfect time to buy. And I'll tell you why. It's and utilizing the North Carolina Housing Down Payment Assistance Funds. Because, a lot of people are shying away from purchasing because of interest rates. And so that's, with the inventory problem, that's, some people are just going to sit back and wait, wait for rates to come back down. Well, guess what? Everybody's going to want to do that, so that when you go out to start making offers on homes, there's going to be
a lot more competition.
A lot of competition.
Yeah. And then what happens then on our side, we see the prices go up, you're paying more for the same house, or you're having to give more non-refundable money up and take a risk on a property that, you haven't even had a chance to inspect yet. And you're kind of like pushing your chips all in, right? And that can be a very scary time, especially for people that, like, I've been there, where you feel like you just don't have enough to get started. And now you're talking about high competition. So let me ask you this. What are some basic criteria as far as credit score is concerned, that people need to be at least at X number of dollars? And could you talk to me a little bit about these free credit apps and their scores and how that correlates to what my actual score is?
Excellent question. So with North Carolina Housing, it does have a minimum 640 credit score. Like in the example of our client, she wasn't quite there. So we came up with a plan to get her there, and she followed the steps. So something we can definitely take a look at doing. And so what happens? I pull a credit score. I have people call me on, I've got a 720 credit score. I'm not worried about this at all. And we pull credit and it's 660. And everybody thinks that, oh, it's that credit, it's that hit, it's that inquiry. It is not. So, I don't want to put anybody to sleep here or bore you to tears, but I think it's important to know that what we look at is called a mortgage credit report. What people are looking at is called a consumer credit report, and they're exactly the same, but totally different. So I know it makes no sense, right? So basically, the consumer credit report is very reactive. It updates daily. Sometimes it feels like hourly. So, I tell people all the time, like, you can't walk outside and sneeze without your credit score being affected. Like, for the mortgage side, we're only pulling information one time a month. So it's a much more sturdy and not as reactive. So if one day your credit scores are 720, but that's because you paid a balance down, that might not be reflected in the mortgage report. So, we have to coach people through this process sometimes. They're surprised that their scores have come back lower. They think it's the inquiry. It is not. It's just a different modality of looking at credit reports. One is daily, one is monthly. The monthly is just a little sturdier and not as reactive. So the scoring is a little more stable.
So let me, you brought up the credit inquiry, and people are like, well, I don't want to hurt my credit to do this. How long, like, what kind of a hurt is it? Is it a little boo-boo? Is it, in the long grand scheme of things? And then with that inquiry, like, time frame wise, how does that affect people? Because there is a little bit of a drop, right? With that inquiry, or no, none at all?
So excellent question. And thank you for asking, because I think it's really important for people to understand, and I even hear my adult children talk about this. Well, it was a hard hit on my credit. And it's like, everybody's panicked about that.
Yeah.
The only time that it really is cause for concern from a lending perspective, and where it's going to affect credit scores, is if you are trying to obtain credit from multiple different sources. For example, you're shopping for a house, and then you decide you're going to shop for a car, and then you decide you want a jet ski, and then you decide you want a personal loan, and then you're trying to open up a credit card. So if you have a lot of inquiries from different disciplines, yes, that is going to affect your credit score, because from a lending perspective, we're like, why are you trying to get so much credit? What's going on?
Right. Why are you doing? You're everywhere. Right.
Yes. Why are you trying to open up so much credit? But if you're shopping for a mortgage, or if you're shopping for a car, if you stay in the same discipline, you've generally got 30 to 45 days to shop within that amount of time without being negatively impacted. But, again, if you're only shopping for a mortgage, I would tell you not to worry about what all the hearsay that's out there. It is literally, you are allowed to shop for a mortgage.
Yes.
You are allowed to talk to different people.
That's how it works.
That's how it works,
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's a question.
Okay. I want to make sure that we're answering everything that we possibly can for people, but I realize there's a lot of questions. So one of the big things that we've had, and maybe this will help kind of pull things together, but we have a lot of people say, so what if I come to Dana and I call her and she says I don't qualify? And I know we hinted on it with our client story, but what happens if I don't qualify? What are the next steps? What do you do as a lender? Because not all lenders will do this. I know what you do, but not all lenders will do this. And I want to make sure people understand that there is a difference in lender, and the way that each lender does business is very different. So could you explain, like, how do you handle when someone doesn't qualify?
So we have a conversation and we say, all right, this is where we are. These are the things that you need to do to get to where you need to be. So it's not credit counseling. I'm not a credit counselor. We have a program that allows us to, get in directly and manipulate different scenarios with the credit bureaus that'll tell us what a client will need to do to help improve their credit score.
So, like, if you pay this credit card down, or if you close that one, or if you
come off as an authorized user on a card, or X, Y, and Z. Or in the example where people don't have a credit score, don't count yourself out there. There are plenty of things that we can do to help coach you through what you need to do to get a credit score.
Right. And I think that's awesome that you take that extra step to just guide people through, like, here are some things you could do, and then monitoring, and then come back when we're ready and look at us now with this client. It's an incredible story.
Well,
right?
Actually, I feel like we've had a couple of those.
We have had a couple of those.
Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing to me that when people put the work in and you set a goal and you want something. And if you want to own a home, there are ways to do this. And I think that's the entire baseline that we want to get out there to people, is that we can help you get there.
Absolutely.
If you're willing to put in the work. Like, we can guide you through that. We have no issue doing that. There's no judgment here. We're here to help.
Correct.
We've all been in financial situations, every single one of us. And I think, if we can help someone else, that makes us feel like we've done our job. And
yes, at the end of the day, what we do, I feel like, is a privilege to be able to help people. And, we do this every day. Yeah. Somebody coming to us doesn't do this every day.
Right.
That most people, you might do this 3 or 4 times in your whole lifetime.
Right.
And, so
we might do it 3 or 4 times a week.
Oh my gosh.
Or a day.
Oh my God. Yes, exactly. So we, so I think it's important that we do our jobs soundly. I think that it's a valuable service to help people get into that period of home ownership, taking that next big step. So, I feel like it's our job to do this and help people get on the right path.
And I love that. I really, really appreciate all of your time. I'd love to do a series maybe once a month where we can talk through myths and challenges and
Oh my gosh, that'd be great.
what's going on. Yeah, we'd love to have you on the channel with more than just the hi Dana, although that is the best.
Hi, I'm Dana.
I love it. Every time I see it, it makes me laugh.
Oh
so
gosh.
thank you so much for your
Oh,
time.
thank you
and
so
I like
much
your
for
bunny
having me.
picture. Cute little
I
bun
love
bun.
I love bunnies, except when they're in my garden.
Well, thank you again for your time. We will talk
Thank
soon.
you so much. It's a
All
privilege
right.
as always. Thank you, dear.
Absolutely. Hey, if anybody wants to reach out to Dana, we've attached her contact information to the video, throughout the video, and at the end here. I will also make sure that her contact info and her website is in the comments of this video. So please subscribe to us. We'll see you all again soon, and we can't wait to have you back. We'll talk to you later.